She had been stabbed. It was very clear that she had been violently sexually abused.
We may not catch him if we don't get the DNA that we were hunting.
That level of brutality was very unique in a veterinarian office. It scared people.
How did you determine he was your man?
He was lying about not knowing Andrea. He clearly had killed her.
Hi, I'm Nancy O'Dell. Today's Crime Exposé takes us to Orange Park, Florida. A dedicated animal lover and vet clinic worker was attacked and brutally murdered. Police didn't have much to go on as the killer had washed away evidence that could ID them. But DNA is sometimes found in impossible conditions. Sunrise in Orange Park, Florida. A peaceful morning is torn in two by the shocking discovery of a woman dead on the floor. She had been cruelly and savagely killed.
Co-workers made the first 911 call. They were extremely distraught.
There's someone on the way right now. Okay. Well, this is take up the here. Sam, this is the sheriff's office. We're on our way. What did you say that her body was at? It's in the kennel. In the kennel? Yes, ma'am.
They had just found her in the vet kennel area. She was lying on a concrete floor, clearly horribly attacked, left virtually nude.
The room was a mess. She had been strangled, bashed in the head, stabbed, violently sexually abused, and then she was stuffed in a dog crate and left like an abused animal.
How was it that you were on the scene of this murder?
In this jurisdiction, a prosecutor always goes out with a homicide team. I was that prosecutor that morning. There was most certainly obvious signs of a struggle.
She had a lot of defensive wounds on her hands, so she did try to fight. What you would hope is that she was either unconscious or died quickly, that she didn't suffer for some of it, but she was clearly alive for some of the attack.
The vet clinic was a concrete floor. There wasn't much disturbed there. In fact, we saw no weapon that we could tell at first was used in the attack. What struck us strange was the fact that there was a lot of water on the floor. So we knew right away that the killer had made efforts to cover his tracks.
Looked like he may have tried to clean up a bit. They found cleaning supplies and they found a hose laying in water on the floor.
Employees told police that the victim was their co-worker, Andrea Boyer, 25 years old.
Andrea Boyer was a bright, young, energetic, married young lady who had just started her career. She was a vet technician for the Wells Road Veterinary Clinic in Orange Park, Florida. Got up and went to work every single day, 4:30 in the morning. She would prepare her vet clinic for the incoming veterinarians as well as the rest of the staff. She would typically get there about an hour before everybody.
While he carefully noted the aftermath of the bloody slaughter, Dan Skinner saw something on the body.
A blue tag was found in Miss Boyer's hair. We went looking throughout the rest of the vet clinic and found a second fire extinguisher and noticed that there was a blue tag on the second one in another area.
How did you determine that the fire extinguisher was the murder weapon?
One of the evidence technicians noticed the fire extinguisher hanging back up on the wall. They noticed hair on the bottom rim. We took great precautions to collect that and preserve it for later testing. We knew that that DNA that we were looking for was crucial. Our worry that morning was we may not catch him if we don't get what we're looking for with the DNA that we were hunting.
Collecting DNA evidence was critical to finding out who committed the murder. This would require a plan outside of the standard operating procedure.
The decision was made to have the actual doctor come to the scene, which does happen on a rare occasion.
And the doctor agreed to come to the murder scene to do the DNA collection.
Some 5-6 hours after she was discovered, the doctor came to the scene and we had him collect a sample. Those swabs were taken from him and sealed and sent off to our Florida Department of Law Enforcement for future testing.
Police and technicians used the utmost respect in their efforts to collect evidence to find out who did this to Andrea. Now Dan Skinner turned his attention to those left behind.
That level of brutality was very unique.
We have somebody on the loose out there that's extremely violent, and we were going to catch her.
A woman had been brutally killed at a veterinary clinic where she worked in a cowardly attack by a perpetrator. The murder was as shocking in its savagery as it was happening in suburban Orange Park, Florida.
It was very unusual. That level of brutality was very unique. It scared people, that people were very worried.
Police visited Andrea Boyer's husband to deliver the devastating news and to try to piece together her final minutes.
Well, first and foremost, law enforcement's priority is to notify next of kin. The next of kin was her husband. Mr. Boyer was devastated by the news of the loss of his wife. All the friends that they had all confirmed that they were doing very well.
Police had no reason to suspect that Andrea's husband was the killer, but eliminating him left the investigation without a clear direction forward. So there must have been a sense at that time of not knowing where to go until the autopsy results came back.
There were so many things we did not have. We did not have an eyewitness. It was a normal morning for Andrea Boyer. She was not reported missing. She had no one in her life that she was struggling with. She was a great worker. She was getting along wonderfully with her husband.
When the autopsy on Andrea Boyer's body was conducted, everyone knew what was at stake. It also magnified the extreme brutality inflicted upon the victim. What did you learn from the autopsy?
What shocked us at the autopsy, the violence that was inflicted upon Miss Boyer was just simply subhuman. There were actually two types of strangulation plus blunt force trauma. Manual strangulation, which is like one using their hands. Ligature strangulation, one using an object to strangle someone to their death. And third, the blunt force trauma. This young lady was struck multiple times upon her head with this fire extinguisher. I've done this a long time. I've never seen violence like this inflicted upon somebody's head.
In the autopsy, her skull had been pushed back into her brain. There were pieces of the fire extinguisher that were in her head. They found a steak knife with the tip had been bent. They found it in a drain. There was something wrapped around her neck. She had also been choked. It was just violent.
I know the amount of injuries were insane.
There were so many blows to her head that during the autopsy it was really difficult for Dr. Sherman to count how many. On top of that, she was also strangled with some type of ligature, like a belt or a dog leash. This young lady struggled. This young lady fought. This young lady did not die very quickly.
The horrific details of Andrea's final minutes gave police a graphic picture of what had been done to her. But the DNA collection could be the evidence that would catch the killer.
The DNA analyst came up with a DNA profile. We didn't know who to compare it to, so we didn't really know who did it belong to.
The first thing police did was to confirm that Andrea's husband, Chad, was 100% eliminated as the perpetrator.
DNA evidence would eliminate him.
So with the husband fully eliminated, what was your next move?
The autopsy really made us realize we have somebody on the loose out there that's extremely violent, and we were going to catch him. Who's the DNA, who did it belong to, we did not know. So that we did the next best thing, which is run the DNA sample through what's called CODIS. CODIS is simply a database of all previously convicted sex offenders.
Weeks went by, an excruciating wait for the family and police. And then they got the news they had hoped for.
And lo and behold, it took about 3 weeks, but in mid-February, the greatest news in this case came in. DNA from her person came back to Michael Renard Jackson.
Police had identified the perpetrator, but he was not in custody. As they learned more about him, the urgency increased to apprehend Michael Renard Jackson before he killed again.
He had a history of it.
He's attacked before.
He was a predator.
We need to get him in custody quickly.
Homicide detectives identified DNA from someone who had raped and murdered Andrea Boyer. They believe that the murder was a sexual crime by a man with a violent history against women. And the more they learned about Michael Renard Jackson, the more they knew he was the killer.
When that DNA hit came, the focus came on one man, and that was Michael Jackson. Once we ran his full data, we learned very quickly this is a registered sex offender. That meant to us, we need to get him into custody quickly because he's attacked before. We learned that he was actually still on sex offender probation at the time he killed Andrea Boyer. So we knew we needed to find him.
What did you learn about this man, Michael Renard Jackson, and his history?
When he was 16, he broke into a house and raped a 14-year-old girl. And so he had a history of it. Plain and simple, he was a predator. So that's why they had his sample. You know, he raped a 14-year-old girl. It was very clear that she had been violently sexually abused, and Michael Jackson had left plenty of very usable samples, so it was easy to match him up.
Michael Jackson was apprehended by law enforcement back in 1986. That case proceeded through discovery and litigation, eventually making its way to a plea. He pled to a judge after we had made him an adult. In Florida, as a 16-year-old, he got 30 years in prison, but when he got out on that 13 years of that 30-year sentence, the court put him on sex offender probation and was on sex offender probation all the way up until the attack of Andrea. Michael Jackson had no permanent address. When we found him, he was literally living in the corner of a hotel room about a half a mile from the vet clinic, approximately 1 mile from his work that he would walk to. His walk was right in front of the vet clinic. He had to walk that way to get to work, which would put him right in the path of Andrea Boyer turning in there one morning.
When you confronted him about his DNA being on the victim, did he have an alibi?
When he was brought in for questioning, he spent a lot of time trying to distance himself from that vet clinic. He denied knowing her. He was shown a picture of Andrea. He looked at it very closely in the interview room. He said, "I don't know her at all." He was doing everything he could in that interview to distance himself from Andrea Boyer, from that vet clinic, and really that would be important later because that's not what he's going to tell the jury when he goes to trial. He was lying about not walking. He was lying about not knowing Andrea. He clearly had killed her.
Jackson was arrested and charged with the murder of Andrea Boyer. When the case went to trial, his defense shocked even veteran homicide detectives who knew they had him dead to rights. So how could Mr. Jackson possibly defend himself with his DNA being found inside a woman who's been raped and murdered?
He took the stand, and in his trial testimony, he had completely changed course of what he told law enforcement. He had gone from not knowing her, never been to the vet clinic, doesn't know this girl even after looking at her picture, to his new version in front of a jury was, oh, Andrea Boyer, I've been dating her. She and I have sex almost every morning. We've had sex 60 times while she's headed to work. She would stop in parking lots and pick up me, the homeless day laborer, happily married young lady who's 25, 26 years old throughout that time period, and would stop and pick up 37-year-old Michael Jackson, who's homeless, walking the streets at 5:30 in the morning and just started having sex together.
I think the thing that disturbed people, it caught a lot of people off guard, was during the trial, we found out that Michael Jackson was actually very intelligent, because the state is required to turn over all the information it found. And part of that was they had to do a background on her. And so what they found out was that at one point when she was very young, she worked at an adult club. So after denying for months that he knew her, during a trial he testified that he did know her from the adult club and that they had consensual sex that morning. And that's why his DNA was with her.
He tried to claim that he had met her at some strip club and even knew her by her strip club name, trying to cast dirt on Andrea Boyer to try to create doubt to the jury. They saw through all this. They found him guilty as charged in the first trial and sentenced him to death with a 9-3 death vote.
After sentencing to death, the Florida Supreme Court decides that a 7-minute interrogation by the Clay County Sheriffs, and they asked Michael, "Did you know Andrea?" And he said, "No, I don't know her. I've never met her." And they kept saying, "Yes, you do. We know you know her." Well, Judge Wilkes allowed that interrogation to be played in front of the jury. And the Florida Supreme Court, they didn't allow that. That's why he got the new trial.
It was very difficult for our office. It was extremely difficult for the family. May have disagreed with it, but we went back to work and said, well, we're going to try him again. Most importantly, we convicted him that second trial. The jury came back 10-2 for death. Because it had to be 12-0, unfortunately fell 2 votes short of the mandate of 12-0 required by law. The court could not impose death. He had to impose a life sentence.
Sexual predator Michael Renard Jackson would never harm another woman. Still, it was little consolation for Andrea Boyer's family.
There was no remorse. There was no emotion. It didn't bother me. And that's the thing that bothered me the most.
Andrea Boyer was a selfless woman who loved animals and devoted her life to them before she was viciously murdered. She did nothing to deserve the fate Michael Renard Jackson inflicted upon her. At the age of 16, Jackson had referred to himself as a sexual monster, and his words proved painfully prophetic. Police say the murder of Andrea Boyer demonstrates beyond a doubt that releasing sexual predators into the population is a ticking time bomb that eventually detonates. And now it is time for today's Safety Spotlight. The harrowing case of Andrea Boyer underscores the importance of workplace safety measures. To cultivate a safe working environment, businesses should consider hiring security personnel and installing security cameras and panic alarms for employees to alert police in case of emergency. Display signs inside and outside of your business informing visitors and employees of the cameras and the security measures. The signs can act as a deterrent to potential criminals. And when possible, implement access control systems such as key cards or biometric readers to limit entry to authorized personnel only. And for more safety tips and resources, contact the Workplace Violence Prevention Helpline at 1-877-987-3747. I'm Nancy O'Dell. For all of us here at Crime Exposé, please join us next time and stay safe.